Thank you, Ryan. Good morning, Jack Heath. We are back live, local, regional, and national. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the Pulse of an H. Also, you can watch us on our own YouTube channels. Thanks to StreamYard, the Pulse of an H. Make it easy for you. Here we are, right after Christmas. Hope you had a nice Christmas break, everyone out there. Hope you had a nice Christmas day and all that. And weather was pretty cooperative. We had got called well, barely a white Christmas, but we had a little bit of that snow Christmas Eve morning on Tuesday. But again, hope you had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We're moving into the New Year's week. J Dog, I don't know if you saw, today we're looking at sunshine, mid 30s, but next week, starting this Sunday, we have a big warm up for New Year's. In fact, Monday, going into the New Year's week next week, this next Monday, mid 50s for a high, J Dog. It's going to seem like a heat wave. It's going to seem like a heat wave. How you, buddy? I know you missed me profusely. You have a good week? You had a cold when you were off. It's going around again. How are you doing? You had a good week? Good Christmas? Bah humbug? All right, we're going to talk about not just the things heating up in Ukraine, but Russia being blamed for that plane crash in Kazakhstan, killing more than 30 at least. They think it was one of the kind of a Russian air defense type shot at the commercial liner. And if you don't know where Kazakhstan, that's Russia's borders to the north, Caspian Sea to the southwest, and that's continuing. Also, this morning, going to hear from Paul Steinhauser live this morning. Good morning, New Hampshire. Good morning into Maine, WTSN AM and FM, WTPL 1077 FM, Lakes region. We have you blanketed on WEMJ, our AM and FM signal, plus our brand new 98.3 HD2 digital clarity. Good morning, New Hampshire. Good morning, Maine. Good morning, New England. Good morning, worldwide. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the Pulse of an H. Also, watch on YouTube, our YouTube channel, The Pulse of an H Live, if you want to watch this morning. J Dog, I want to get to some of the other news in a moment. Before we do, though, I guess Paul's on, but I want to come back and talk to you about this college schedule, 12-team playoff. And you need to educate me a little bit on this. But let's start with Paul Steinhauser on this day after Christmas. He reports nationally for Fox News Digital, and of course, we're a Fox affiliate. Interesting article. As we transition just a few weeks, all the inaugural stuff, new administration, President Trump back in the White House, people are already looking ahead to the 2028 Republican bench. Paul Steinhauser, a piece on Fox News Digital on that. Good morning, Paul. Well, you think of DeSantis, Youngkin out of Virginia, Nikki Haley, to name a few. Mm-hmm. Paul, real quickly, I'm not surprised with DeSantis and even Youngkin not factoring into the new Trump administration, but Sarah Huckabee Sanders surprises me because she had a pretty close relationship with the Trump camp that she's really not being tapped for anything major. Does that surprise you or not? and do some, commercials. No, I'm kidding. Like Mike, of course, he's now busy in the Middle East, or going to be. Thank you, Paul Steinhauser, on this, day after Christmas. Paul Steinhauser live with Fox. Good morning, New Hampshire, the pulse of an age. Thank you, Paul. The Michael Graham will be joining us top of the next hour, New Hampshire Journal, and he has an article on this. And the Friday before the Christmas break, I did the show. I was live, and we had a bunch of people on, including sort of an exit interview with outgoing New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu on this past Friday before Christmas, an in-depth interview of looking back and looking ahead as he moves on after 4 two-year terms. But also that morning, the same Friday morning, the 11 o'clock hour, U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen checked in. And of course, if you remember Friday, it was the day or the eve and going into Saturday of the looming government shutdown. I just have to chuckle on that. Every 6 to 8 or weeks or a few months, there's a looming government shutdown. What a way to run the government. But anyway, Jeanne Shaheen was on, and I've asked her more than once because the big next speculative race in New Hampshire is going to be right as we start 2025, that U.S. Senate race. Remember this past one, this last election, November 5th, we had a wide open governor's race in New Hampshire. In fact, one of the most open, non-incumbent contested gubernatorial races in the nation, between Kelly Ayotte, who won, and Joyce Craig, the Democrat. But going into 2026, the U.S. Senate race, 2025, it starts. So a couple, really within the next month or two, late winter, early spring, right around the corner, believe it or not, you'll start to see whether or not Jeanne Shaheen's going to run again for another term. Of course, she's in her latter part of her 70s, and it's not clear if she's going to. And I talked to the senator this on last Friday about this, and for the first time in a while, she's going to be in the minority in the U.S. Senate. Republicans have the majority, and it's a little different when you're a senior senator being in the minority. Now, Shaheen does have senior perks and status on things like foreign relations and all that. But it'll be interesting to see if she runs again, because already I just remembering on Friday's show, it was a packed show this past Friday before Christmas. Scott Brown called in sort of unscheduled, and he was talking about the government shutdown, but I think he just wanted to weigh in. And he, of course, former U.S. Senator, ambassador, Senate candidate here in New Hampshire, he ended the interview, and I asked him if he's interested, if he's planning on running for the U.S. Senate in 2026 in New Hampshire as a Republican, and he basically said he's seriously considering it, was his short answer. So the next, Paul Steinhauser says he covers campaigns. The next musical chairs in New Hampshire really will be this Senate race in the seat that Jeanne Shaheen is currently in. Would she run again? We will see. We will see. My gut is probably, but I don't think it's a lock. I don't think it's a lock that she runs again. Just personally, given her stage in life, kids, family, grandkids, and she's been doing this an awful long time. Does she want to do it again? We will see. 603-228-2080. So, J-Dog, before I go to some other stuff, speaking of Washington and how dysfunctional things are down there, this 12-game college playoff thing coming up. If I have it right, Ohio State's already got one credit because they kind of wallop Tennessee. Is that correct? And then you have Oregon. You're going to have 12 teams. How does it work, and when does it start? This weekend? Boise State is that high, huh? Well, Yeah, interesting. Yeah, right. So January is pretty much college football playoffs as things heat up in the NFL. When is the Winter Classic NHL? Is it Christmas Eve? I mean, not Christmas. The Winter Classic, New Year's Eve's at so Tuesday. Who's the Winter Classic going to be? Oh wow, wow. And then so it's going to be Tuesday, like 1 o'clock or in the afternoon. Oh, in the afternoon. Okay, at 5. Oh, college football is going to dominate January. There you have it. All right. When we come back, we'll tell you a little bit about the dysfunction in Washington and insider trading. Also, really sad story in Wakefield. I don't have the details in front of me, but 4 adults lost their lives Christmas Day, I believe, or the overnight Christmas Eve. Carbon monoxide, it looks like carbon monoxide poisoning. They were due at a family or Christmas gathering, and pretty sad story. So check those carbon monoxide detectors. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Jack Heath live. J-Dog on the boards. Back in a moment. 50s on Monday going into New Year's, but welcome back. Hope you had a nice, as I said, Christmas and holidays and break, and we roll into Christmas, New Year's week coming out of Christmas. We'll check in on consumer spending as we are in the retail season of the holidays, and we will be checking in with some of our regular contributors this morning. J-Dog and I back live, and I appreciate some of the folks who filled in. CJ on the side of things in-house and Josh McKelvin last Thursday, but we got a packed show for you this morning. Hope you had a good break, and it's kind of strange, J-Dog, because it feels like a Monday. Here we are on Thursday, and tomorrow, and so it's a short week. And then we have the weekend and New Year's Eve on Tuesday, and then New Year's Day. A lot of good college playoff football. 12 teams, really, for the first time we're seeing this. The New Year's Winter Classic, St. Louis. Mm-hmm. The Kraken. Yep. Yep. Should be a good one. Two classic teams, the Blackhawks, the Blues. It's fun. Love the Blackhawks uniforms. All right, that's Winter Classic. Remember when Bruins were in all that stuff? Fenway Park, the first time around that happened. It was pretty cool to see hockey at Fenway Park. All right, Jack, Heath, just some commentary. I'm looking at all this transitional stuff happening. We're right in the middle of this. We're just a few weeks away from all the new folks moving in, not only the White House, but here in Concord at the State House. New governor, Kelly Ayotte, coming in. New leadership, well, kind of old new leadership in the House with Sherm Packard, locally House Speaker, but in the Senator Carson, Senate President, Republicans picking up a lot locally in the Senate and the House, and then of course soon to be Governor Kelly Ayotte, Republican, winning a little more than people thought over Joyce Craig, but nationally the Trump stuff, the transition, and then you look at Washington. Wow. You look at Washington, and I just was kind of, it struck me on Friday as we are going into the weekend before Christmas, another looming government shutdown. And I don't know if you realize some of the crap that was in the spending bill, and everyone got all upset that, Elon Musk, this non-elected official, because you have to be elected to know anything about politics, I guess. So non-elected Elon Musk sends a message out on X, his social media platform, sort of blowing up the deal that Johnson, the first deal or two. That in that deal, I don't know if you're aware of this, in the first or second deal that Trump indirectly, or Trump and Musk, they kind of blew up there. There was I don't have the numbers in front of me. It was a 4% pay raise for members of Congress. I think it amounted to just under $7,000 or $6,600 a year raise for members of Congress. And look at how they run the government. Every 8 or 10 weeks or every few months, they kick the can down the highway, and there's another looming government shutdown. And you and I can't run our businesses, our households, our states like that. Now, I don't know how much is going to change, but I actually think the Musk Ramaswamy, Vivek Ramaswamy, the Kennedy taking over health, all this stuff needs a good shakeup. I mean, how can it get worse? I love the insiders. I love the incumbents. I love the members of Congress. See, when you get into Congress, all you worry about is one thing. You know what that is, everyone? You know what that is? That one thing that members of Congress worry about is reelection. That's all members of Congress worry about is reelection. They don't really worry about much else. And raising money to be reelected, because in Washington, the metrics of power are longevity, how many terms you've been in Congress. If you've been like Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell or Schumer, you've been down there a long time, you're considered powerful, successful. Not because of anything you've done legislatively, just that you're a veteran, you're powerful, you're an incumbent. So they worry about reelection, and they don't really care about things like, the debt and the deficit. We just passed $36 trillion national debt, $36 trillion. The cost of the deficit, the cost of the debt. No one wants to really talk about it. No one wants to think about it. It's like this looming, forget the government shutdown, it's a looming time bomb. And all they care about is getting reelected. And, there are things, and I've pointed this out, and I know people are, in the middle of Christmas and New Year's here, and a lot of people don't want to talk about all the legal stuff. I had to, by the way, I love the week before last week. How many death row inmates did Joe Biden commute their sentences from death row to, basically reducing convicted murderers, killers, death row inmates? Was it more than 30? Really smart thinking, Jumping Joe. And then, of course, the judge was at Pennsylvania, was getting kickbacks to put to put kids in certain juvenile detention centers from the for-profit juvenile detention or whatever it was. The judge who was serving time, Biden commuted his sentence. What is that? What message does that send about our kids? Why would you do that? And don't tell me he doesn't know what he's doing. We've known that for 4 years. He doesn't know really where he is sometimes. But why would you do that? Why would the outgoing president end the prison sentence of a judge who was getting paid to lock up kids illegally behind the scenes, getting paid to send a kid to a certain juvenile detention center for a year or two so they made money off the federal system? That's the most revolting, disgusting crime. Why would you end that dirtbag's prison sentence? Why would you end that? What's the upside for you as the outcome? Don't say it's a bleeding heart. That's not about compassion. What about the kids? Weird stuff. I don't think he's done yet. I think until he's out of there, I don't know, probably pardon his brother. A few more Bidens will be on the list. But look at Washington. Look at it. And I don't know if it's going to change at all. It's going to be the next year or two in this administration because they're going to shake it up. They're going to put it all in a washing machine with a couple of extra of the laundry detergent, and they're going to wash it and see how it comes out. But, you look at insider trading, you look at what the stuff that a lot of these, like, I think Ramaswamy and Musk going to tear into. They love it. Oh, the world's richest man. He's not elected. And what is he doing in there? What is Ramaswamy? What are they doing? They have no experience. What are they doing? They're looking to cut government fat and waste. But what about the members of Congress who trade stock without it being checked if it's insider trading? Like when Putin declared war and goes and invades Ukraine and people buy certain defense stocks in Congress ahead of time, more information than you and me. Well, all the energy sector stuff that's changing, members of Congress, both sides of the aisle, cash in. Let me look at Nancy Pelosi. Talking about being down there a long time. Was she worth her and her husband Paul? And don't tell me he's that good of a stockbroker. And don't tell me they've made $150 million from just being smart. I think it was Truman. He said, "Show me a rich politician, I'll show you a crook. Show me a rich politician, and I'll show you a crook. Show me a rich politician, I'll show you a crook." Look at the stuff that they do in Washington that you and I can't do. I mean, Martha Stewart. You've heard me say it if you've seen the Netflix documentary, Martha, the design queen or king of the world, if you will. Martha Stewart, amazing, tough story. She did 5 months in prison for a $45,000 alleged insider stock deal, selling stock in her friend's biotech or medical company before because the FDA didn't approve his new medical thing. And the day his family sold stuff, so did Martha. But she goes to jail for 5 months. But members of Congress don't go to jail for insider trading. So why is that? Why is that? I wonder if this stuff will change. Just some commentary as we highlight the end of the year and look to next year, which is coming next week. Hard to believe. Big warm up temperature wise. Monday, mid 50s. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa. Play the pulse of an age. Jack Heath, J Dog on the boards. We'll be back in a few. which tends to be, the retail spending seems to be kind of a 70 or 80% online, 20, 30%, bricks and mortar, but we'll get an update. Be interesting in the new year. The media landscape changes nationally on the mainstream media, how it's going to change. You've already heard about MSNBC cutting their on-air people's contracts and salaries because the viewership stinks. It's sinking like a rock. I think the parent company of MSNBC is Comcast. They've already said they want to dump the cable network because ratings are going down. CNN, there's different articles about fallout at CNN. Their viewership is down, and there's a debate within CNN. In fact, there's an article in that 25 to 54 viewer demographic. Demo viewers, CNN's daily audience dropped from last year. Listen to this. It's down 94,000 people a day. But their numbers are not as big as you would think for a national national TV, even if it's cable news. No wonder people are watching things like Landmen, Yellowstone, streaming's taking over. But since Trump's win, CNN, there's an article on Fox News I'm reading here, just share with you. CNN's primetime viewership has slumped by 52%. That's a big number. Imagine if you were a restaurant. Paying your bills, and since November 5th, your number of patrons at your restaurant was down by more than 50%. I think you'd notice that, right? The network is also navigating several changes, according to the article on leadership. They've had they've had more CEOs at CNN than I think they've had people, working on the cruise, if you will. But they don't know really what's going on there. They don't know where to go. And a lot of it is, people don't realize all people are thirsty for and hungry sometimes is just the news. And you look at how mainstream media has gone all over the map to try and placate an audience they think is there. And then when they don't get it, they kind of go down one silo all in. And they just, but people, this isn't new, folks. I mean, everyone wants to make this about what just happened on November 5th, but let's go back to Trump's first term. Let's go back to the 2015, 2016 cycle. And then Trump gets in there first term against Hillary Clinton. And he starts calling out at the press conferences. He calls CNN fake news. That was a long time ago. He started it. Fake news. And he took them on throughout his presidency. Then they go after him hard after 2020, play up all the court cases, all the charges brought against Trump from every level of court, including federal indictments, grand juries, New York, Manhattan, all the stuff every day for a couple of years. Trump in court, Trump in court, Trump charge, Trump in court, Trump in court, Trump charge. I had said a couple of years ago, if you're a regular listener, I don't know how some of these networks survived without the word Trump in their news. I mean, Trump sells, right? So CNN just bashed the heck out of him the last 4 years. And now since November 5th, they've lost 52%. 52% of their audience, CNN has lost. And they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do or what to be. And when you lose that identity, you don't know who you are. It's pretty tough to exist in any kind of business when you don't know what you are, who you are, and what you stand for. And then you look at the problem is you look at ABC News and this whole George Stephanopoulos debacle. I mean, what a joke. But what you know what? I'm just going to say this. I've had a little time off. It's nice. Hope you had a good Christmas. We're back at it here. And we'll talk to you about the new year in a little bit. But, a lot of stuff in our life we do to ourselves. You ever think about that? No one wants to be responsible or blame no one's to blame for anything anymore. So you just point the finger of blame. That's what they do in Washington every day. They don't say, hey, I screwed up here. I'm to blame here. I'm the one to blame for this $36 trillion debt. Blame me. No, there's no virtue and self-ownership anymore, responsibility. So you blame. What a way to raise kids. You fail the exam, blame the teacher. It's not that you didn't study enough. No one's to blame for anything anymore, it seems. But let's look at ABC News. They put in George Stephanopoulos, and then they get this defamation suit from the Trump camp, because Stephanopoulos basically slandered Trump by calling him, saying he was convicted of rape when he never was in that trial. And that's a pretty strong assertion that goes beyond covering news. Not once, but several times, Stephanopoulos. But Steph, let's do an MRI or an ultrasound on George Stephanopoulos. When you put in a professional political hack, a political operative, a former Bill Clinton White House campaign, then the White House, and even before Clinton, Dick Gephardt, George Stephanopoulos is as active of a politician or a political activist as anyone in the country as a Democrat. It's no secret. I mean, he was part of the Clinton campaign and Clinton White House as a Democrat, not as an independent, not as a Republican, as a Democrat. And then you put him in as your top news anchor, and he's a full blown Democrat at the highest level, national level. He's a full blown Democrat. And you put him in as an alleged journalist, as a news anchor. What did you think was going to happen when campaigns came around? What did you think? Stephanopoulos was going to be fair? Did you think ABC News that George Stephanopoulos was going to be fair in his smirks, in his insinuations, in his questioning, in his descriptions and his reporting? Do you think he was going to be fair? Do you think he was going to be like the late, great Tim Russert? Wrong. Do you think he was going to be really just ask good, tough questions on both sides of the aisle? Do you think he was in on it? What did you think? What did you think you were going to get when you put a top Democrat in as one of your top news anchors? And so ABC takes a hit on their credibility. Now, we at Benny Media, or at least the Pulse of an H, part of Benny Media, but the Pulse of an H here, our news talk network of stuff. Recently, our programming chiefs, and I applaud them for it, got rid of the CBS News. No, were we ABC or C? We were ABC, right, J Dog? What were we before? We just became a Fox affiliate, ABC. And you heard me on the mornings on the ABC News for the last couple of years, and going into the campaign, I'd have to comment as I began my talk show, which is different than a newscast, after the ABC national newscast right before Mike Pomp's news at the top of each hour, with blatant bias in the reporting. When they were covering Harris after the convention, it was just a love fest, and every story on ABC was negative. And I remember a week or two before the election, they would say in the middle of the report, on our own news talk network, Kamala Harris, the Democrat nominee, campaigning in Pennsylvania today, the swing state where she has a slight lead with Liz Cheney, and so on, an event this afternoon in so-and-so Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's in North Carolina touring the ravaged hurricane victims and damage from the Hurricane Helene, spreading the lie that FEMA was bad in its response. They said, they made the conclusion that Trump, a Republican nominee, campaigning that the disaster relief wasn't ample enough in North Carolina, saying that he is spreading the lie that FEMA didn't do a great job. FEMA did a crappy job. There are FEMA whistleblowers right now testifying, FEMA officials, that said that their play card, their sheets were basically don't go here. And if you see any Trump supporters, Trump flags, Trump signs with a destroyed home from the hurricane, don't help them. And where was the money? Mayorkas was the first one who blew the whistle that they didn't have enough money, and then everyone goes berserk and blames Trump. But ABC News was saying, no, Trump's spreading the lie. So these national mainstream media newscasts and news networks have done it to themselves. You hire George Stephanopoulos, a proven Democrat activist, and you call him a news anchor. CNN has been after Trump ever since ever since 2020, trying to make sure that he never rose again, never became president again. How'd that work for you, by the way? How did that work for you? And then, of course, the other network's not much better. So I don't know where things go in the new year, but there'll be more shakeups to come, I predict. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. What about retail spending this holiday season? Doug Tegden, one of our great partners and sponsors out there. World Market Advisors coming up next. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Back in a moment. the big New Year's week. We're gonna see a pretty dramatic warm up Sunday and Monday this next week. Monday's mid 50s for a high. Today we're looking at a pretty nice Thursday, actually. Sunshine, mid 30s. Hope you had a really nice Christmas break, holidays, and we're not through yet. College football, we get that on the menu over the next few weeks. I think until January 20th, 12 team playoff. Pretty exciting, actually. And then, of course, the NFL heating up. And we have the Winter Classic Tuesday, I guess, New Year's Eve afternoon in Chicago. J Dog just saying his beloved St. Louis Blues going again, going with the Blackhawks and the so-called outdoor at Wrigley, the Winter Classic. That'll be fun. Ton of good stuff to watch the next few weeks. Kind of beats the doldrums of January in terms of on the depression side, if you will. I was thinking, heard a national news story before we'll bring in Doug in a moment here. Doug Tangden talking about consumer retail spending. We don't have all the data in to see what he thinks, but real quickly, it's interesting. I was talking to actually he's a Marine, retired doctor. I was just out, away last week. I was talking to him a little bit just about the country and where people want to live and how people get the doldrums, the Northeast, the shorter days and the colder. But he goes, you look at the country, you look at people out west in California, they thought it was great until these fires burned down the Hollywood celebrities' homes or mudslides. You look at the Midwest, they have those tornadoes and twisters and a lot of the storms in the Midwest. Plus, I don't know if you know about the Midwest. You talk about cold and chilly and depressing and flat. Look at Iowa. No offense, the caucus state. They, talk about cold. If they don't, corn, no hills and just cold weather and wind. And then you look at Florida now, they're worried about hurricanes. Charleston, South Carolina, that's been in a hurricane, the low country, if you will. Everyone escaped. A lot of people escaped from Florida to Appalachia, North Carolina to kind of get out of the Florida hurricane stuff. And then that hurricanes hit North Carolina, and you got states like Appalachia where they're trying to figure out all these people moving in. So there's no perfect place to live. Make the best of it, right? And we have a pretty good here. Couple months, and then before you know it, we start warming up and have 80% of the year is beautiful. All right, Doug Tegden with World Market Advisor perspective on retail spending as we go into the holidays. And we're through one. We're through a couple of major holidays. We've had Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the Thanksgiving period. We've had the Christmas shopping, and we're ending the year. And a lot of retail spending will determine the new year, maybe the economy. Good morning, Doug. Any thoughts? They do look good, and it doesn't matter if it's retail, if it's online or bricks and mortar, but you're saying the spending is looking pretty good, you think? Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's still hard to understand a lot of this stuff. The Fed is inching rates down a little bit. We just had a slight reduction before Christmas. I think it was 0.25%. I'm still, talk about. I was in a different part of the country a few days last week, and what a difference in house real estate market versus New England. New England is just so overpriced. Not a ton of new inventory. People in Maine and New Hampshire still spending, upwards of $1 million or more to buy a home. Certain parts of the country, you can get a two or three, 4 bedroom home with 2 or 3 baths and a garage for under 500,000. What a discrepancy. Yeah, well, you mean the People's Republic of Hanover? No. Well, that's where I've always looked in the past cycles to understand the depth of a slowdown. And what you just touched upon more than real estate is if you have a couple as a home or condo owner, mortgage or rent, and one of those two people, the breadwinners, lose a good job, what I always look at is how long does it take him to get another job? But not just length of time to get another job, is what's the comparison on income and salary to the new job? In other words, if someone you mentioned Amazon, if you have a regional manager for Amazon living in New England, where they only have to go into a distribution center or place once in a while, and they're making, let's just say, a buck 25, 130,000 a year gross before, taxes, and you lose that job, where do you go if you're kind of in that high tech world quickly to get another job where you're making at least 130 grand a year? Yeah. No, but anything you build is not a bed of roses. And and if you do lose a job, not you, but people, and they're making good money, let's just say, a couple may make a couple 100,000 a year. Sounds like a lot of money, but it isn't anymore with inflation. We know that. And you say you lose your job and you get another one, but it's 60% of what you were getting paid. Well, how are you going to fill that 40%, that hole in the couple's income each year? What do you cut? What do you cut? Good luck with the latter. All right, Doug. World Market Advisors, Doug Tangton. You enjoy your Thursday and Happy New Year. We'll catch you Monday. Yeah, the real estate prices in New England and the Northeast are mind boggling still to me. Unprecedented, really, what we've seen for the last several years. People just moving on. And by the way, speaking of the end of the year and lessons learned, will the people look at the people in the states they're leaving? Look at the states they're leaving and moving to New England and paying is two or $300,000 beyond what you think is a fair price for a home. And real estate's pretty pure. It's the market is whatever someone's willing to pay for it. I mean, that's your price of lobsters right there. Whatever someone's willing to pay is what your home is worth. Not what you think it's worth. It's what the buyer will pay. That's what your home's worth. So you leave California, you leave New York, you leave New Jersey. Remember why you left there. You leave Massachusetts to come here. Remember why you left. But look at why people are leaving those states. Just look at the reasons: taxes, cost of living, you name it. Then they move here and they want a new sidewalk. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Coming up, Michael Graham and a lot more next.